Alright, so welcome everybody. I guess I'll just get started right away. I'm just gonna get to the settings screen and then I'll count you down. Okay, so ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Alright everybody, so this is F-Zero Climax. This is actually the last F-Zero game that was ever released, and it's a very good one at that. It's actually one of my favorites. It takes inspiration from the 2D games rather than 3D like GX did. Yeah, so this game was only released in Japan, which is why I'm playing in Japanese, and also why a lot of people don't know about it. You'll see me drift quite a lot, and that's actually a very big tech in this game. When you're strafing, like, it just adds speed on top of your normal speed, even if it doesn't show on the speedometer. So ideally, I just kind of want to face sideways as much as possible and then strafe forward. However, that does mean I have to really know the track, otherwise I'll just bump into walls because I won't know where they are. But thankfully, I have memorized them, and that is the end of the first track. So for this run, I'm only going to be doing 23 tracks, the tracks you do when you play on the novice or standard difficulty, and that's just a way to split up the amount of tracks you have to do in one run, because in total in time attack mode, this game has 54 tracks, and a lot of them are just like alterations of existing tracks, like there's a few more turns, there's a few more obstacles, so this is just like the basic version of every track.
Yeah, for many tracks they added like a lot of slight turns here and there, and like you can really see how they picked one track and just added like one part different, and yeah, everything else is basically the same.
Yeah, like there's Mute City 6 Carat, which was the first track that I played, and then there's 8 Carat, which adds like sort of like a U-turn at a part, and then 10 Carat, which adds another turn. That's basically the extent of it. Some tracks do add some more interesting obstacles, but in general, it's kind of like playing duplicates. So, okay, that's very unfortunate. So the way boosting works in this game, what allows me to go so fast is that when you're in your boost states, it basically makes a new gear and it gives you a new top speed. And as long as you're in that boost, you'll want to, like, it wants to push you towards your boosted top speed. And so even if you hit a wall, as long as you're still boosting, it'll try to accelerate you again to your top speed. And then if you hit that before the boost runs out, then really you can keep working on stacking speed. Stacking speed is kind of like a weird mechanic. When you boost, it takes your current speed and then it adds the boost speed on top of it, and that becomes your new boosted top speed. And so since you can do boost like consecutively, you'll be able to just like keep adding a little bit of speed, and if you go over a dash plate, that'll add 128 kilometers per hour to your boosted top speed. And if you use the accelerator mites, which are little pokeballs in the bottom right, you get once every lap, every boost lap at least. Like, I'll have one right now. Generally I use them right away to get my boosted top speed up as soon as possible. I'm just gonna be doing a little skip here. Ooh, okay. It's kind of a bad wall hit, but I'm alive. And that's the biggest thing that matters, because we don't have respawn, so that would lose a lot of time.
Also with the machine choice, Vallkyr will be using the Crazy Bear for every track or almost every?
Yeah, every track.
Okay, for every track.
It's not optimal on every track. Wow. But it's just easy, because it's really quick to get to in the menu. The other choice is Twinnerita, which is, like in every F-Zero game, it's very lightweight, but it has a powerful booster. Not the greatest top speed, and it can't really drift too well. So in general, I'm just gonna use Crazy Bear and use this crazy drifting technique to get really good opening laps. And then on boost laps, you're pretty much constantly at top speed anyway, which is 1920 kilometers per hour.
And yeah, since the Crazy Bear has E-grip, it's really good for the drifting, and it also has a super boost. So basically, it is for most of the tracks the best vehicle.
Yeah, its boost is actually like pretty mediocre, but you can build speed very quickly with the reactor might and dash plates that it doesn't really matter. Especially in tracks where you have enough energy to boost the entire way through and you never have to drop your speed again. Outside of boosting, the boost plates aren't too useful because you lose speed very quickly, so the 128 kilometers per hour that you get, they don't really do much. Like, you lose it after like half a second. Although that depends on the vehicle. Crazy Bear loses it pretty quickly, whereas if you would take something like Night Thunder, it would hold the speed a lot better, which makes it very easy to stack speed, but it also has a worse normal top speed, which makes openers pretty slow, and that's why it's not used in 3-lap runs.
Also for this track specifically, you also see that there's ice on the track, so you also need to watch out here, because obviously your machine handles differently on ice, even though it's a glider.
Yeah, like when you're on ice, you basically want to be... Oh, that's a new fast lap. That's pretty good.
Nice.
Actually pretty close to my 3-lap PB as well. That's pretty cool. Yeah, on ice you want to... your momentum shifts differently, and so you want to be blast tapping a lot more to make sure your momentum stays in the direction you want to go, rather than like going outward. Oops.
Yeah, blast tapping is basically a technique where you let go of the accelerator quickly and repress it again, so you regain grip with that, and like that you can make it through very sharp corners, for example, and also yeah, pretty tight drifts. And every time you hear like the chung chung, that's basically when Vallkyr is blast tapping.
Yeah, so since this machine has like low grip and it turns very slowly, like you can make really wide drifts, but then by tapping the accelerator quickly you can like shift your momentum in the direction you're facing, which allows you to make some really sharp turns at really high speeds. Like, people tend to gravitate toward the very grippy vehicles in the 2D games because of how difficult the tracks can be to navigate. But it's actually better to use a low grip vehicle so you can do drifts like that, because with a high grip vehicle it just doesn't turn fast enough, and that's an ILPB by 3 frames, so that's pretty good. Yeah, there's a lot of tracks in this game, so not all my times are like super optimized, but I did put like a lot of effort into them, and that's also the end of Bronze Cup for the first set of tracks. So now we're going to be moving on to Silver Cup. So there's 4 cups in this game. The final one is Platinum Cup, which has 8 tracks that are designed off of previous F-Zero games. But like, they added some stuff to it, mostly. And it's always the same 8 tracks, regardless of the difficulty you're playing on. Actually, didn't mean to side attack in the air, that cost me a lot of speed, but thankfully I still made the jump. So yeah, one thing about the Grand Prix in this game is that on Novice difficulty you have the easy set of tracks and you have respawns when you die, so it's kind of like, it helps ease people into it rather than just being brutal right off the bat. On Standard you lose the respawn ability, but it's still the easy set of tracks. And then on Experts you get new tracks that are more difficult, and on Master it's much of the same. And the AI obviously also gets stronger with the higher difficulties. And it's kind of different from previous F-Zero games. The AI don't really teleport behind you like they do in previous games. That's very unfortunate. Like in F-Zero SNES, if you make a skip and then like the CPU will just teleport behind you when they're out of sight, so they're always right behind you. Whereas in this game, they do drive differently, like they drive very optimally when they're off screen, but they don't teleport. So if you're good enough, Grand Prix really isn't that much of an issue. Like, you can afford to make a mistake and they won't immediately pass you. So on this track there's actually like a jump you can do from, well, like the jump plate, and then you can go to, you can go to like a bit after, like it does like a half circle and then it switches back around. You can land after the half circle, but it's really tight to do. You have to do like a full drift and you have to be at like near 1920 kilometers per hour to land it, and it's like blind. So if you don't have a good angle, you'll never see it coming, and you'll just like land next to the track.
Another thing that is also very interesting about this game is that they also added a lot of customization. You can not only customize your controls, you can also customize like what kind of boost you want to have. Yeah, like if you want one strong longer boost, or if you want to have like a spin boost where you can also knock out opponents, which is really nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of customization, which unfortunately that's like one of the screens in the game that's actually like fully in Japanese, so you would need a guide to figure it out if you don't know Japanese. And yeah, there's a lot of options, like as E-Dragon said, there's like a shorter booster, which is what we use because it's like more powerful, so it allows us to build speed faster. I'm gonna need another drink after this, my throat is kind of giving out. Yeah, there's also a different accelerator, which I actually have bound to the shoulder buttons, which allows me to get the rocket start, excuse me, without having to time it. Because normally you would have to time it depending on the acceleration of the vehicle. Okay, there's not a lot of downtime in this game, so hopefully I'll just be able to take a drink here. Because I really do need it, because I want to keep the commentary up.
So on this track, Mist Flow, as you can obviously see, there's a lot of mist, so knowing when the track bends and where the corners are is very important, when otherwise you'll easily crash on a lot of walls.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of dash plates hidden in the fog, so you want to know where they are to really build your speed quickly. This track also has a shortcut that I think only Twin Rita can do, or if Crazy Bear can do it, then it's like not really realistically possible. Basically, you land all the way over here from that first jump plate we hit. It's like pretty big. And then you can land like right next to the jump plate, and then you can strafe back into it, and then you can just jump to like even further in the track. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, not very RTA viable. At least not for a marathon setting. So we're just gonna be boosting through this.
Yeah, actually most of the competition is in individual levels, so there are actually some really good times set for like all the time trials, and yeah, there you go all out with the shortcuts and also pick different vehicles, but in the RTA run, yeah, they're just too difficult.
Yeah, like for individual laps you'll want to use Night Thunder because of its ability to hold speed in between boosts, and it turns quicker. So it can't drift as deep, but it can make turns pretty well still. It's actually a fast lap on lap 2, it's pretty good. It's nice that the game just shows you all of that on screen, so you'll have like comparison for how well you're doing. I just did that track. Okay, Firefield Frontline. I actually really like this track, even though it's like really weird. Basically, it's just like a square, and there's a lot of mines. But it's a short track that you can grind very easily. So I actually got a pretty decent time on this, and you want to like cut in between the mines. And then on boost laps, it gets even crazier. Hey, that's one thing you can also do on the opener, is that you can drive into the mines to boost yourself off of them, because they do give you a speed boost. However, it's very difficult to like determine where it's going to send you. It can easily just like send you spiraling into other mines, and then it just quickly drains your health. And then you can't boost anymore, so I'll just play it safe for the sake of the marathon. Which is still like a pretty decent time. It's only 1.8 behind my PB.
And yeah, I think there's also an Easter egg on this track.
There is, yeah. I just randomly stumbled upon that one day. So when you're out there in the minefield, like I think it's in the top right quarter, there's some dirt. Well, dirt is like kind of like gravelly stuff, and it just spells F-Zero. And I just stumbled upon it, I was like, what does this say? And then I got a good view and I was like, it blew my mind. Like, it's really cool that they added that, because normally you don't go to that part of the track because it's right in the middle of the mines. But then on one bad run, I got stuck there and then I noticed it. Unfortunately, they did take it out for the second version of the track, because that has more mines, so they didn't really have a space to put it anymore. Oh yeah, there's also a skip I can do here, which I'm gonna play safe, because if I land too early, I would just die. But the idea is that I would land on top of that jump plate and land here, so that would skip like 4 seconds. I can also do it on boost laps, if I keep my speed at the right point. There we go. So now I want to do that one more time, and I want to be careful that I don't like land in front of the finish line, because that just means I'm doing an extra lap, which has happened way too many times. Did I get my boosted top speed? I did. Okay, so I can still do this. Okay, that was actually really nice. I'm glad I got that, even if I didn't get it on the opener. Okay, and that is Silver Cup done. Moving on to Gold Cup. So this is where things get a bit different. At the end of the cup we also see the Illusion venue, which doesn't have any walls. So that's always interesting. But until then we just have some like more difficult tracks, but they are pretty normal. And some really weird turns here, so this is always kind of hard to go through on boost laps. Oops, I forgot about this turn. Yeah, I want to be doing like really big drifts so that I'm facing like fully to the side. Okay, right there I'm just gonna take a wall hit to change my angle, and because the boost was still going, I didn't lose my boosted top speed, so I could keep that going until I hit the other wall. That's just kind of the unfortunate reality of playing a 2D game, is that the wall's kind of an issue. I also have to be careful not to die here, so I'll just play it safe at the end.
Yeah, this game slows you down quite a lot when you hit the walls. There is another game in the series, which is GP Legend, where it's kind of different, which is basically a pinball machine if you hit the wall.
It really is.
And yeah, if you hit a wall there, then it's very likely that you blow up, because you just hit so many walls after that.
Yeah, and then you also have the CPU racers also racing past you and then like knocking you back into the walls and like damaging you more, which, yeah, I'm glad they didn't do in this game. Like, you can still die very quickly in walls if you're like strafing into them, but otherwise they don't deal too much damage and they don't like send you pinballing all over the place. Okay, so this track has like oops, am I gonna make this? Okay. A neat little shortcut here. You just go through the lightning field. Does a little bit of damage, but nothing the Crazy Bear's body can't handle. And then on boost laps you can actually do something a bit bigger, and hopefully I'll be able to land that. Kind of want to break here, so I have my... No. It was really bad timing, but I still made it. So yeah, you really want to make sure your boost pattern is lined up properly, so your boost doesn't run out mid-air, because when you're not boosting in mid-air, you lose speed like super quickly. Anywhere between 360 kilometers per hour and 720 kilometers per hour per second. So yeah, that's pretty massive. Okay, I think I messed up my boost pattern again, so... Yeah, I'm not going fast enough, so we're just gonna go for the normal skip. Plus a bit. Normally you can land here, so that would skip just a bit more. So one thing I also would like to do is just like drift on one side rather than alternating sides, because like it keeps me lined up for the upcoming turn. It's not as optimal, but it's just more consistent for me. Okay, so here we have a track that's sort of inspired by Death Wind in F-Zero SNES, in the sense that there is wind that actually affects your movement, but thankfully not to as big of a degree as in SNES. But like right here, I am going a bit slower, even if it's not showing on the speedometer. Here I'm going a bit faster. It's all very subtle, but it's there. And on top of that, it kind of obscures your vision. Yeah, with this game being as fast-paced as it is, it can be very hard to keep talking and focus at the same time. Try not to hit any walls, because dropping your boost at top speed is like one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Which thankfully I didn't do right there. I'm still at 1920. So like wall hits are okay in the right places. Also, one thing you could do in F-Zero GP Legends that you can't do in this game is hold down the boost button and it would automatically start your next boost, but in this game you have to like keep tapping it or time it, but timing it is pretty difficult, so I tend to just like spam it and usually it works out. Sometimes I stop spamming just a bit too soon and then I miss a boost, which just happened there. It also means this game has very high APM, like you're constantly on the shoulder button, you're like tapping A to blast tap, you're like tapping the booster, you're switching sides on the D-pad the entire time. It's very chaotic. Okay, I can actually make this. Okay, I have to do 2 blast taps in here. So usually you can kind of like make setups with the amount of blast taps you can do, but I'm just not gonna go for it on the opener this time, because it is pretty tight. Like even if I did the setup right, if you start just a bit too far away from the wall when you hit the jump plate, you still might not make it. I was not holding L and R. So that's something I've kind of been glossing over, is the rocket start accelerator. Which I did mention earlier, you had to hold it at the right time to do a rocket start, but yeah, I have the rocket start accelerator bound to L and R. It has a slightly lower top speed than the normal accelerator, so I still have that one on my A button. So for the start I just hold L and R and A, and then I just let go of L and R after I've gotten the rocket boost. Because even though it's not too difficult to do for Crazy Bear, when you're doing a lot of other vehicles as well, it's a lot of things to memorize, and you get them mixed up pretty easily.
And yeah, with the rocket start, if you hold it for too long, then you get fire, which is basically you overstrength your machine, and yeah. Slows you down.
No. Okay, that's very unfortunate. Yeah, the fire lasts for I think 3 or 4 seconds, and it limits your speed, just like straight up until you hit or until you boost in some way or another. So either you can hit a dash plate, or if you start with boost, you can use your booster, which is the case in some survival missions. Or zero tests as well, which are also things that are in this game. This game has a lot of content. So there's the main Grand Prix mode, there's time attack, there's zero test, which is basically just like mini time attacks. You get like a part of the track or just like one lap of a track to race on with a specific machine, and then you have to beat the right time to earn a gold trophy.
And yeah, most of it, like for the first ones, there's only like one corner, and you really have to optimize to these corners as much as possible to actually get like the best trophies.
Yeah.
For some of them, you even need to like sit there for an hour just for that one corner. It's actually pretty crazy.
Some of them are crazy, yeah, and some of them also require you to know shortcuts, which is kind of like a funny way of teaching people about shortcuts in the game. Like, I think there's one on Porttown Half Dome that had like the jump in the lightning field, and that'll like show you that there's a jump plate there. Let's rank up again. Alright, so it's time for Illusion, everybody's favorite. But the thing about speedruns is that you don't want to hit walls anyways. It's just, rather than losing some time, you lose a minute, or up to a minute, depending on how far into the track you were. But the track design is pretty simple, so I shouldn't run into too many issues. So opener pretty basic, but when you get to the boost laps it gets crazy, because you're suddenly going twice as fast. So I'm gonna go silent for this, because I need to pay attention to where I am on the track, so I know what's coming up. Okay, I saved it with side attacks. They slow you down a lot and allow you to make corners pretty nicely. That was scary though. Okay, so that's Gold Cup then. Yeah, the more difficult version of this track just has like a few more turns. There's actually a little shortcut you can do, but I think, again, only Twinnerita can do it, and even then it's like super tight. There's, like, at the first turn on the left side there's a mini jump blade, and you can just barely hit that, and if you do like a full drift jump, then you can get enough distance to get to the other side. But it's crazy, I wouldn't go for it in RTA.
Yeah, the jump blade is also pretty hard to see because the entire track is also blue, and that's also the color the jump blades have. So, yeah, hitting that and still making it is quite difficult. So, this track also has here the alternate path, which cuts off quite a bit of the track. On the opener it's quite alright, but on the boost lap it's gonna be very difficult to get through there without hitting walls.
Dang, just barely lost my boosted top speed. Yeah, it's really difficult to get through there. Like, I've only been able to do it like maybe 2 times, not losing my speed going into it. On like all laps, I mean. Okay, that's fine. I didn't lose my boost top speed. So that's decent, although my boost top speed is still pretty low. But it's just a difficult track. Okay, so now we have another big blue track. This one is very stingy with the, what's it called, the regen paths. So I'm not going to be able to boost through all of this, and there's some really weird turns as well, as you'll see on the minimap. Which should, yeah, it shows up properly. Because the minimap flickers at like every other frame. So when you're recording at 30 FPS, sometimes the minimap is just like not there. So thankfully we have good video capture right here. So yeah, there's also a lot of ice on this track, which make these turns even more difficult. Whoops.
And I get especially funny when you get into the boost laps.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make it through like at full speed. In fact, I already lost my speed. It's very unfortunate. So I want to minimize the amount of time I'm on that ice in the tight turns. Because the closer I am to the inner edge, the more likely it is that I'll like stay on track and not spin out. Because when you're in the rail, you don't get affected by the ice. It doesn't extend. Yeah, I'm doing a really bad job of holding my speed here. Also, when you're on ice, you generally don't want to do like the really big turns where you're facing all the way to the side. You kind of want to do like normal turns, if at all possible. Okay, so now we're going on to the third track. So this one, Silence 2, is based off of the Silence 2 from F-Zero SNES. And it actually has the same music, despite Silence having different music in the main tracks. Oops, wrong turn.
Yeah, it is a little different than the original F-Zero SNES track. As you can see, like on that
Also, the
think
mines
that
are a
makes
lot
sense.
bigger.
Yeah, that as well.
It still has this really difficult turn. Bit too early. It's fine. Okay, now I'm not gonna go through the mines because they're like very likely to hit me, and then just like send me bouncing. So tactical wall hit there and there, which I think they also do in F-Zero SNES actually, so that's pretty faithful. Okay, I'm not gonna keep boosting, otherwise I'll be at risk of hitting a wall and just instantly blowing up, if I can boost at all, which I'm not sure of. Okay. I think up next is Port Town Great Wings, which has some pretty crazy shortcuts. I'm gonna be doing like an easier version of it. Yeah, Port Town Great Wings. So on this track you can get like, I think it's like a 2-second lap by just like crossing over the finish in the air and then just like landing back like behind it again. I'm not entirely sure how it works. Either way, it's like really crazy. I've never gone for the full skip. Okay, so I could go to the right side here, but like I kind of don't want to risk it at the moment. You can make the jump, it's not too bad, but I wasn't prepared for it. So I'm actually going to be saving my second booster here, the boost fire, because I want my boost pattern to line up properly at this point, so I can make sure to land here. So yeah, eventually I'll have to learn the full shortcut, but it's crazy, so not really worth it at the moment.
It's really crazy. You will need to hit jump blade like, well, facing almost backwards, then
Yeah.
doing another 180 turn mid-air. It's just to land behind the finish line.
Yeah, because like you cross it in the air by like going behind it, and then you like side attack the right of it to shift your momentum, otherwise you can't do it quickly enough. And then you land back on the track that's to the side of it. Like, it's absolutely insane. Rectangle 2. So just like in F-Zero SNES, there's a little jump there. I'm not going to use it on boost laps because I don't really need it. And it's kind of scary to hit at such a high speed because you have to face your machine downwards so you land sooner. But on the other side I do have mines here. Damage-wise, not a big deal, but kind of just don't want to deal with missing the jump right now. Actually, you can... Ooh. You can just like jump over here from that jump plate. But I haven't done it recently, so I'm kind of scared too. So we're just gonna take a few seconds time loss. Like, not doing skips in this game is not like a big deal. It's not like you're losing minutes or anything. It's always just like a matter of seconds. So sometimes safety is preferred.
And yeah, if you crash, then you lose a lot more than that.
Yeah. Thankfully the tracks aren't too long in this game, but still, dying on the final lap is pretty painful, because with the restart time you'll still lose like a minute. So that right there is a really difficult corner to make in F-Zero SNES, but with drifting in this game it becomes like very simple. You just want to time your boost properly so you don't Like, so you're not like at the apex of the turn when you're trying to switch between boosts, like when you have the little cooldown. So that would lose you a lot more speed. No, that's not too bad. I was hoping I could start the boost a bit earlier, but yeah. It's mostly just about like managing your boost in these levels and drifting properly. And drifting is the biggest time saver on opener, so on boost laps generally you just want to focus on boosting, not necessarily like making the widest possible drifts, unless you're going for world records, but it's not really what we're concerned with at the moment. So Wetland 2 is infamous in F-Zero SNES for having like a jump that saves like 0.2 seconds, I think, and it's very difficult. If you miss it, you would just die. It's not too difficult in this one. In fact, we can do a lot better.
And you can skip a lot more.
Yeah. So you'll see that coming up at the end of the track. Yeah, right there is a good example of how ice affects your vehicle. I had to blast up a lot more to get my machine going forward again. And there we go. That's the Wildland 2 skip. Oops. I was thinking of the wrong turn. That happens sometimes. Like, when you have this many maps, you kind of get them mixed up sometimes. Thankfully there's dirt right at the end there, so that allows me to regain my grip, start another boost, and just keep going fast. Okay, we're gonna have to do this boostless again. Which, it's fine. And I think with that we're coming up to the final track, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, we are. Okay, so time is coming up in about a minute whenever I finish the final lap. Like, as soon as I cross the finish line, that is when time ends. So this is Firefields, which infamous for being very difficult. Still pretty difficult here. Like, it has some tricky turns, especially at higher speeds. It also has like bare minimum refill, so I'm not going to be able to boost too much here. Let's see if I can get... Nope, I hit the mine. That's pretty difficult to get through. Like the hairpin turn without hitting the mines prior to it by like setting up for your drift. Like, this track is just very mean. So I'm gonna save the rest of this boost for the next lap.
Yeah, it gets really close to being difficult like the original.
Okay, I think, yeah, that started the boost with enough speed. And then I lose it here. It's just very difficult to get through. Yeah, just gonna try to not die right now so we can finish this run. So time is coming up now. 38:15. Could definitely be worse. Considering I died a few times, that's pretty solid. I'm happy with that. Alright, so yeah, that is F-Zero Climax. Thank you all for watching, and I guess we'll switch on over to F-Zero AX next.